Let's talk about one of the single most frustrating things about coding with AI. You know, when your AI assistant just confidently makes stuff up. Well, today we're looking at a tool called GitMCP that claims it can stop those AI code hallucinations for good. Let's dive in. We've all been there, right? You ask your AI for help, and it spits out this beautifully formatted, totally plausible looking piece of code that is just completely and utterly wrong. It's that moment where a time-saving tool suddenly becomes a huge time waster. And this just nails the feeling, doesn't it? The AI isn't just wrong, it's confidently wrong. And that confidence is what trips you up. It sends you down this rabbit hole, debugging code that never had a chance of working, and it just completely shatters your focus. Okay, so why does this even happen? It's not like the AI is out to get you. This whole thing, this code hallucination, it actually has some very specific causes that are baked right into how these models are made. So here's the deal. The biggest reason is pretty simple. The AI's knowledge has a cutoff date. It literally doesn't know about that breaking change that got pushed last week. And for newer or really specific libraries, it might barely have any training data at all. So when it hits one of these knowledge gaps, what does it do? It does what it's designed to do. It fills in the blanks with what looks like a probable answer, inventing a method that feels right but just doesn't exist. All right, enough complaining about the problem. Let's get to the good stuff, the solution. This is where a really clever tool called GitMCP steps into the picture, and it's built specifically to fix that knowledge gap. So what is GitMCP? Think of it as a live information feed for your AI. It takes any public project on GitHub and turns its documentation and its code into something your AI can read right now, in real time, so no more relying on data that's months out of date. And this number right here, this is one of the best features, 0. As in 0 setup. You don't have to download a thing, you don't have to install a package, you don't even have to sign up for an account. It's designed to be completely frictionless. And using it is, well, it's so simple it's almost funny. You just take the URL of a GitHub repo and you swap github.com for getmcp.io. That's it. Seriously, that new URL is now a live documentation source for your AI. Now, you've got two main ways to use it. If you're doing a deep dive on a specific project, you use the specific repository URL. That makes your AI an expert on that one library. But if you're just exploring, you can use the generic server, which lets the AI figure out which repo to look up based on your question. Super flexible. So how does this all work? It feels a little bit like magic, but it's not. It's actually a really clever use of an open standard called the Model Context Protocol, or MCP for short. Let's pop the hood and see what's going on. You can think of MCP as just a common language, a universal standard that lets AI applications talk to the outside world. It gives them a clean, structured way to ask for info from tools and data sources. And in our case, that data source is a live GitHub repository. And this analogy is just brilliant. It makes the whole concept click instantly. You know how USB-C became the one plug to rule them all? Well, MCP wants to be that universal standard for plugging tools and data directly into AI models. GitMCP is just one of many services that speaks this language. So here's the play-by-play. You ask your AI a question. The AI knows it needs up-to-date context, so it uses MCP to ping the GitMCP server. GitMCP then does a smart search on the live GitHub repo for anything relevant, docs, code examples, you name it. It packages that fresh info up, sends it back to the AI, which then uses that context to give you a correct, accurate answer. So you're probably wondering, how do I actually use this? The best part is you can be up and running in like less than a minute. Let's walk through it real quick. First thing, you just pick the URL format you need. There's one for a regular repo, a special one for GitHub Pages sites, and then that generic docs URL for when you want maximum flexibility. Just grab the one that fits what you're doing. Next, you just have to tell your AI assistant about this new data source. In tools that support MCP, like Cursor, it's usually just a simple JSON file. You just pop in a new line with your GitMCP URL, maybe restart the editor, and boom, you are good to go. Now, this tool can have a huge impact on your workflow, but like with anything, it's important to know what it's great at and what the limitations are. So let's cover the benefits and a few important caveats. The biggest win here is when you're working on the bleeding edge. For those new libraries or niche projects, or the ones that are just changing all the time, which is most of them, this is a total game changer.
You get accurate code examples based on the current version, which means way less time banging your head against the keyboard debugging something that was never going to work.
But let's be realistic about what it can't do. Right now, it only works with public GitHub repos. And remember, garbage in, garbage out, the AI's answer is only as good as the documentation in the original repo. It's also not a replacement for a proper language server or type checking. And finally, if you're a super heavy user, you might hit a rate limit on the free service. But since it's open source, you can always just host it yourself.
I absolutely love this tagline from the project's repo. It just perfectly sums up the goal. It's about getting out of that frustrating cycle of coding based on the vibe of what you think an API should do and getting into that flow state of coding with confidence because your tools have the right information. By giving your AI a direct, real-time line to source documentation, GitMCP offers a really powerful and yet incredibly simple solution to code hallucinations. So if you've ever been burned by a confidently incorrect AI, you owe it to yourself to check this out. Head over to gitmcp.io to try it for yourself. Thanks for tuning in.